All right, everybody. Welcome to Living Better, episode 5. You're with your host, Matt. And today we're going to talk about something I went through this year that was very hard, something that some people around your surroundings might go through. And we're going to talk about depression. I went through depression this year, so I'm going to talk about that, how it happened, what I had to do to get out of it. And I'm going to give you tips and tricks that might help you if you ever encounter depression in your life or people that are going through depression. This is going to help you for sure. So without any delays, we're going to start this podcast. So this podcast today is sponsored by the Sleep Monkey Premium Sleep Mask, and this is quite awesome. I want to show you this. So throughout my life as a military and as a correctional officer, I've worked shift work, and obviously sleep was something that I wanted to improve. So I tried all sort of things, from melatonin pills to blackout curtains, even putting cardboards on windows or everywhere I was, or trying to put a T-shirt around my face or something, until I smartened up and I went and bought some sleep masks. So uh, this is one that I've tried, that I got on Amazon. It's pretty decent. It's in like a little satin or something, and it was all right. And but after a while, it became a little bit of like it was itchy or something. So I didn't like it that much. Then I tried this one, which was made of a certain material that's a lot more comfortable. But then again, me always trying to improve my life and getting better health tips and stuff, and I finally stumble upon this mask, which, as you can see, is a lot nicer. It's black and it has a little monkey logo. So this is the company. It's called Sleep Monkey. So this is the most amazing sleep mask I ever got. I bring this everywhere I go. I always have it with me. So they're not that cheap. They go for about $40 to $50. But I mean, for something you're gonna buy once, that you bring this thing anywhere. You go in a hotel, boom, pitch black. Anywhere you are, you can be outside at the beach in sunny daylight, and you put this thing on, and it's total blackout. So I mean, if you really want to improve the quality of your sleep, you need one of those. If you don't want the Sleep Monkey, which is the best mask you will ever buy. There's some cheap version that are like $20 or something, but you get what you pay for. So I tried those before they fall off your head and you wake up without them, or they have a little tiny string. It's like an elastic, so it puts pressure on the side of your head. It's total garbage, to be honest. So spend that money. You spend that money on booze for one night of going out, probably more than $40, $50. So buy yourself one of these, and you're gonna thank me later. And this will become your new best friend everywhere you go. So Sleep Monkey Premium Sleep Mask, you can get it on Amazon, any, anywhere else on the internet. I think they sell it at a bunch of places, even in stores. So this is the mask I would be looking for. This material is 100% cotton. It's breathable. It's very comfortable, and yeah, you won't be deceived. Anyway, so let's start this podcast. And today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you about depression. So this year, I've experienced depression. I went through depression, and it's not something that's fun, not something that I wish anybody to go through. So yeah, it was a rough year. 2019 was definitely the most challenging year of my life. I went through a lot of stuff. Started off that I had a bunch of stress at work. The environment became toxic. There was a lot of gossip, and quite frankly, it started to affect me and my wife, because we're gonna say it started to affect us in our relationship, and that was the beginning of it. Then we're always helping, me and my wife. We like to help people. This is one of the reason I'm doing this podcast, is to help people. But one thing that we had a hard time doing was to put boundaries and stop people from invading our private life and seeking help. So we were helping a lot of people in our surroundings, friends, family members, sisters, and at some point it became too much. It was draining us, and we totally forgot about one another. So if you had the stress we were having at work, and then that would bring we would bring that stress back home, and then it would be amplified by our surroundings and stuff. It became challenging, and among that, I started using what most people would probably do, which is having a little drink here and there to loosen up and relax. But the danger of that is the more you start relying on alcohol, or even weed or any other substance, you're going downhill at that point, and you're not going to go back out of it. And I consider myself to be a very strong person mentally, but this year was definitely not my strongest year. And after starting to drink more, and eventually I got in some trouble with the law, I ended up getting a DUI. That added up to a lot of stress on top of what I was going through. Then obviously criminal charges, and having to go to court and dealing with that was a lot. And Sunday on the icing, beginning of the year in March, my dad committed suicide. So that was really what threw me down the dump. It was like, the cherry on the Sunday, but that wasn't a very nice Sunday, to be honest. So that was really hard. So after that, I was fortunate enough to have a job that allowed me to be off and to take some time for a grievance leave. But to me, it was more than a grievance leave, and I didn't know. And what ended up happening is that for anybody going through depression, it's pretty sneaky. It sneaks up on you without you knowing about it. So at first, my wife realized that I would start being more tired. I would have less energy. I would fall asleep a lot earlier at night than my usual. So I noticed that myself too, and I just thought, oh well, I'm tired. I've been through a lot this year, and it's just I need to relax, right? So it just started off like that. Eventually, it became much worse. I started losing interest in activities that I usually enjoyed, like working out and doing all sort of outdoors activity. And slowly but surely, everything that I once loved started to provide me little to no joy. And I would sleep a lot more. I would eat less. I'd have a hard time just getting up. And eventually, my motivation in anything and everything just went down, with whatever I was experiencing. But being someone that is strong in character, I was always on top of my stuff, and going through depression was definitely something I had to learn to deal with. And the hardest part for me was to accept it, to accept that I'm not okay, and to accept help, and to accept proper treatment. So obviously, after I got troubled with the law and the DUI, I stopped drinking, obviously. And then my dad committed suicide, so I started trying other methods to try to cope with stress and to be on a better path to recovery. So one thing that I started doing was yoga. So I was drawn to yoga, and for me, yoga was very beneficial in a way that it would combine physical exercise, which is very important when you're going through depression, because it pumps up your dopamine and your well-being hormones and neurotransmitter in your brain. So you want more of that, obviously, and less of the bad stuff. So, and that was very good. But at the same time, yoga makes you learn to stop and relax and be in the moment. And then you start going with those breathing exercises. And it combines to meditation. So that was another thing that I started doing that I thought was very beneficial. And meditation has definitely be something that helped me like cool down and have a calmer mind, and it's a good way to feel better with yourself and everything you're going through. So yeah, meditation was something I started, and a lot of people think that meditation is some sort of religion, stuff like that. But actually what meditation is, if I explain it very simply, is learning to empty your head, learning to really empty your thoughts and just be okay in the moment. And as you know, our head are always spinning with ideas. They spin, and we think about all sort of stuff. Even more so for people that have anxiety and stuff like that. So they think a lot. But what that ends up happening with that is it drains you. It drains your energy and drains you mentally and physically. And that's another thing that yoga taught me. Your mental and your physical are very related one to the other. So if you're not doing well mentally, physically, you're going to be tired, exhausted. You're going to have a hard time kicking yourself in the butt just to get up and start doing something. And so if you can take care of your mind and your body, you're going to be better, because both of these two things go hand in hand. So yeah, meditation was very good. They've actually released some research that we're saying that meditation changes your brain. So there's a part in your brain called the amygdala or something like that. It's a little part in the middle of your brain, and what it does is it's responsible for your fight or flight response, and anything from anxiety and thoughts and stress and everything. It starts from that area, and what meditation does is actually shrinks that area with time, and it improves other areas of your brain related to alertness, focus, concentration, and whatnot. And if you can shrink a part of your brain that's working against you, just, anybody will think that that's pretty amazing. And that's what they noticed. They noticed that before, they used to think that the brain would stop growing. I think after the age of 25 or something, our brain stops growing. But now they've realized that meditation actually makes your brain still grow. So there's certain area of your brains that grow stronger, and the connections become more pronounced in those areas, and other part of your brain that are less useful, that would cause you trouble, they shrink. So, I'm no scientist, so I can't really get into all the details, but at the bottom of this episode, I'm going to put the links, and you can just read on the research yourself, and that can be something that you do at your own time. So if we go to meditation, one thing that I bought while I was going through depression that has been very, very helpful, and I can't recommend it enough to anybody, it's this special thing. So it's a headband. I don't know if you can see. So it's a headband that has sensors, and those sensors detect your brain waves. So what you do is you download an app that you put on your phone, and then it connects to this headband that you put around your forehead, and you connect as well your AirPods or headphones or whatever you have to your phone. So what it does is it has guided meditation, but what's very useful is that it will have instant feedback of whether you are not thinking or you are thinking too much. And by that, what I mean is, this is the box, by the way, Muse 2. I think they have the first edition too, but that's something I bought, and it's really amazing. It's not cheap. I think it was like $200 or $250, but for the quality of the meditation that it provides, seriously, you can't go wrong with that. So when you meditate, you close your eyes, you put your headphones, and you have this headband on, and you can choose what kind of sound, either a rainforest or a desert or water, ocean, whatnot. And what it does is, when you start thinking too much, then the environment amplifies. So if it's rain, it'll become a lot stronger and louder, and then you can hear thunderstorms. And when you calm yourself down and you breathe, and you start emptying your head of thoughts, it goes back down, and then at some point it's very calm and you hear birds. So this is what you want to hear. You want to hear birds almost all the time, if you can, but with practice, you'll do more and more of that. So there's 3 zones that this thing measures, and gives you a graph after. It's even statistically amazing, so you can follow up your session. So on the graph, what you'll have a zone that's active, which is when your mind's thinking all over the place. Then the neutral zone is kind of so-so, and the calm zone is where you want to be. So all the benefits come from staying in the calm zone as long as you can. So you can start with a 5-minute meditation, 10 minutes. I'm up to 20 minutes now, and I can be in the calm portion for about maybe 13 minutes, which is pretty amazing. The first time I started it, I did, I think, a 10-minute meditation, and I was in the active portion for about 9. I was in the neutral portion for about 50 seconds and the calm portion for like 8 seconds. So you can really track your progress and become a lot better at clearing up your mind. So you get instant feedback, so you know what you're doing, because it calculates your brainwave and it knows exactly if you're thinking or not. So, it's a good training tool instead of just doing whatever and not really knowing what you're doing. So this has been a really amazing tool. So if I go back, because we're going to talk about depression. So if I go back to me when I was going through depression, one thing that I had to do was to accept it. And one thing that allowed me to accept it is I was listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast. So you're probably aware of him. He's a great guy. Talks about all sort of stuff to help people out. And he had this Navy SEAL guy that was talking about him going through depression. And what that made me realize, if a Navy SEAL can go through depression and accept it and talk about it openly, I should be able to go through it, because those guys are the hardest, baddest guys in the world, or they're supposed to be. But hearing about all this story was what really made me accept what I was going through. And the moment you accept that you're not okay is the moment you can start to heal. So, if you lie to yourself, if you pretend you're fine, you'll never get better. So you have to accept that you're not doing okay and go seek proper treatment. So if you have a family doctor or a doctor that you go see them, talk about what you're experiencing, and be totally open and honest. Because one thing that happened to me is, at first I was lying to myself. I was just thinking I was going through the grieving process of losing my dad, but it was a lot deeper than that. And I would have days when I would cry, I would be down, then I would be up, then I'd be all over the place. And I couldn't understand what was going on, because I had no idea how to control all those emotions and all those things and moods and everything that was happening to me. And that's what depression does. It's your brain that's out of sync. So it is a mental illness, but it's a temporary one that you can definitely fight and go through. And one thing that I would tell to anybody going through depression is you're not alone. You're not the only person that will go through that or has went through that. And I had people in my surroundings before that went through depression, and looking at them, I thought, get over it. You're just, I thought depression was just a downer. You're just down because something bad happened to you, or you went through a shitty experience or a hard moment or something. But depression is a lot deeper than that. It's actually, at the brain level, there's something that's not firing right, and it throws you all over the place. And it makes it very hard for you to understand, and especially too for your surroundings. Like for my wife, for instance, it's very hard. She didn't know what to do to make me feel better. She didn't understood, and that was definitely very challenging for her. So I think that in the beginning, I would kind of rely on her and kind of wish for her to get me out of it. But the thing with depression is you have to get out of it yourself. You have to fight that yourself, and nobody can get you out of that. And it takes the time that it will take, but with the proper care, if you have a doctor, or if you want to try a different medication, or if you throw in your toolbox like some things like meditation, for instance, and a lot of physical activity, a lot of well-being stuff, and just lowering your stress level to basically nothing. That will speed up your recovery. But one thing that I want to tell people that are going through depression is, don't rely on people. Don't rely on your surroundings. Don't rely on your family members, your friends, or anybody to get you out of that. And it's hard to say, because our first, the first thing you're going to think about when you're not doing well is, well, why is my wife not there to support me? Why is people around me not there to fix me up? It's because they can't. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to make you better. And if you keep putting that kind of pressure on them, it pushes them away. And that's one thing I did. I was just, I was not doing okay, and I would have all those mood swings and cry and stuff, and that would just push my wife away because she wanted to be happy. She wanted me to be happy, and she didn't know what to do. So her, her response to it was to go away and see friends, family members, and stuff. And I took it very hard because at the moment that I was really down, I was alone, and being alone makes it sometimes worse. So, yeah, so I definitely had to deal with that myself. And that's what I realized. You got to do what you need to do for yourself to be better. In the moment, you're going to focus only on yourself, which is kind of selfish, but this is what you have to do. When you're going to focus only on yourself and you're going to get better, this is where you're going to be able to get out of depression and fight it off. So, don't rely on anybody other than professionals. Like for myself, I went to the doctor. I tried different medication, and they were helping a bit. But what really did it for me was taking care of my well-being, doing yoga, meditation, sleeping a lot, and just being okay with sleeping a lot. When you're in a depression, you want to sleep. Your body is telling you, look, you're burnt out, exhausted. You need to sleep. So listen to your body and sleep. And it's okay if you sleep for 2 weeks. Sleep for 2 weeks. Don't put pressure on yourself that you need to do this or you need to do that. And slowly but surely, when you start feeling better, just start doing one thing at a time. And that was something that was very hard for me in the beginning. I had a hard time just making breakfast, just making myself a meal. I had a hard time, just doing one little chores like emptying a dishwasher or whatever it was that I had to do that before was normal, just became really hard. So yeah, that's what happens when you're in a depression. It's very sad, and it's not something I wish to anybody because it's awful. Like it hurts, and it hurts inside, and you don't know what to do to get out of it. And you can try stuff, it doesn't work. Things that you like don't make you happy, and it's really hard on your surroundings too. So one thing I would say is to explain it. If you can sit down and explain it to your surroundings, your wife, your kids, whatever, what you're going through, at least it makes them understand a little better, which makes them be more, not, well, okay with it, but in a way they understand a bit more what you're going through in the process. So, don't be ashamed and seek the proper help. Like there's people out there that have been dealing with this for years and they're professionals. So psychologists will help you talk about whatever you went through to help you resolve that, and the doctor will help you with either medication or notes to be off work, because when you're in a depression, you don't want to be working because it just adds up to more stress and it doesn't allow you to really heal yourself. So if you can get off work and take care of yourself. And my message for people going through depression is things do get better. I went really down the dump with a lot of traumatic, stressful, crazy stuff, and I worked towards getting out of it. And it takes time. I've been off from work for maybe 8 weeks now, and I went back to work maybe after 6 because I was lying to myself and pretending that I was okay. I was thinking I was fine, so I went back, and then my symptoms just kicked back in, started crying, started stressing. I remember I dropped my phone and cracked the screen, and I had this crazy reaction like it was the end of the world. Whether before, I would have just, okay, whatever, I'll, find out someone on the internet that can fix it or bring it to the shop or just change the phone altogether. So yeah, it was a rough year. It was definitely something that's challenging, and it's very hard to deal with because it takes time for you to understand, it takes time for you to recognize the symptoms. And one thing that I want people to understand is if you're going through depression or you see someone that's going through depression or you think is going through depression, reach out and just start talking to them and understand that it's okay. We're not perfect human beings. We go through all sort of stuff in our life, and it's fine to be down. It's fine to go through a period of struggle when you're not at your best, and when you can accept that and do the work to be better, what is for me, 8 months of working on myself and fixing this depression I was going through to be good for I don't know how long afterwards, hopefully forever. But you know it's nothing in a lifetime. So when you stress yourself about it and you put more pressure on yourself, wanting to get out of it, and just stressing yourself with not getting the results you want, it's something that takes time. So you got to work slowly at it. And there's people out there, there's professionals that know what they're doing. So if you seek help to the right professionals, psychologists, doctors, uh, group therapies, whatever you need, go through it, because it's really what's going to help you the most. If you think you're just strong and you're going to get better on your own, uh, well, bad news for you, it's not going to happen. You can't just sit on it and wait for it to get better. It's something you got to work at, and you have to do the work yourself. You can't expect people around you to do it for you. So a word of advice for people with depression: it's your issue. Yeah, that's something you don't want to hear, but it is your issue. It's something that you have to go through and fix, and just admit it to yourself, seek out proper treatment, and you're going to be, you're going to be better. Like, everybody that goes through depression gets out of it. I don't think that I ever know anybody that was depressed forever. It's a period of time, and that's the beautiful thing with humans, is we never stay in the same state. We are always constantly changing. So, if you're going through a rough period in your life, you have to understand that it won't be rough forever. Things are going to change. Something will happen, and you're going to snap out of it, and other opportunities, other things are going to come your way, and you're going to be back on track. So, for people out there, don't give up. If you know people with depression, help them out. Don't be afraid to talk to them and tell them, hey, I'm noticing you're not doing okay. What's going on? And if you see those symptoms, which, they get, like, for myself, I was getting tired. I was slowing down. All my motor skills, everything I would be doing was slowing down. Just start noticing that and help them out, because a depression, once you're at the bottom of it, which I was, is awful. You feel so bad, and at some point you can even have suicidal thoughts, and you can think it's the end of the world. You can even want to die. So if you don't catch people before they hit that bottom line, which is what happened to my dad. He was going through a lot of stress and didn't have any money to pay the house, and he was a snowplower, so we had a horrible winter in Canada, and that just amplified his stress. I believe he was in a depression, but he's from the older age where you kind of hide it and you don't want to talk about it, so he never talked to anybody about it. And what that ended up doing is he took his own life. He couldn't take it anymore, and he didn't have the support. He didn't have proper medication. He didn't have anything to help him out, and he didn't reach out to people to help him out either. So when I was saying it's your problem, yes, it's your problem when you go into depression, but it's your problem to reach out to the right people. What I meant by you have to deal with it yourself is, don't expect people like your friends or your wife or husband to know what to do with it, because they won't know. They'll be clueless, and they're going to have to carry on with their day-to-day activities, work, because they're not off work like you are. And just seeing you like that will make it hard on them. And I know for myself, it put a lot of strain on our relationship. Good thing we're a solid couple because we went through it. But for other couples, this can be a deal breaker. And at the moment that someone's really down, when you're down for like 6, 7, 8 months, then your wife or husband can start thinking that this is the new you. So this is not the person that they married, or this is not the person that they once knew. But it's a temporary condition. But when they don't understand it, they don't understand that you're going to snap out of it and you're going to come back to your old self. Or actually, for myself, it was an improved version, because all those months that I've been off and doing all this work on myself did improve me on a lot of levels. So, for me, going through depression was a blessing. Sorry, That's what's awesome about doing a podcast at home. You can drink your own coffee and relax. So that's great. But yeah, it's not something that's easy. So try to be supportive as much as you can to people you know. And if you're going through it, understand you're not alone. You're gonna snap out of it, and life's gonna get better and beautiful once again. And you're gonna be able to look back at that experience and, like myself, understand it and help people that went through it or are going through it. And one day you're gonna probably see it as the most beautiful thing that happened to you, if you go through it like the way I did. So thanks guys, thanks for listening to this. Hopefully it helps people out there. Living Better Podcast, episode 5. So thanks for being part of this channel with me, and eventually you're going to meet my wife. So yeah, just subscribe to the channel, please. Give us comments, give us ideas about things that you want to talk about. I have a lot of experience in a lot of areas, and I went through a lot of shit in my life, so I'm definitely able to help people out there. So yeah, reach out. All right, ciao guys.